Weren't you the one tasked to dole out the beatings, not receive them?
Rusty, I guess.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the aspects of old school movie making that we miss.
Me, I always tell the truth, even when I lie.
Number 10, subtle trailers.
Anybody? Anybody home?
What do you want?
Cabin.
Creating and editing a movie trailer is an art form all its own, or at least, it used to be. Formidable filmmakers such as Joe Dante of Gremlins fame first got their start in the editing room for producers like Roger Corman.
Oh, honey, I'm not very brave. Oh, this little guy's gonna kill me. Oh.
Well, maybe I'll get a doctor.
No. He's just different than Chris, that's all.
Dante and fellow future director Alan Arkush collaborated on selling the sizzle for Corman's films, emphasizing the action and exploitable elements while also subtly ignoring budgetary constraints. Additionally, horror films and thrillers such as Magic and It's Alive created maximum amounts of suspense while showcasing little to no spoilery aspects of the films at hand.
Is it a deal?
Name it.
Make Fat shut up for 5 minutes.
Number 9, equitable budgeting and marketing.
Vote for me, and I'll set you up in Puerto Rico.
The film landscape of the 1960s and 70s was very different from what we enjoy today. Oh, there were still a lot of pictures hitting movie screens, but radio advertising and newspaper pages from these eras showcase a much more equitable amount of funds set aside for promotion. Cinephiles can find advertisements for even the most auteur-driven obscurities of the day, and this speaks to the studio's desire to promote everything to everyone. Certain tentpole priority films still made their presence known, and it's true that many movies often came and went in the theaters. However, it also wouldn't be uncommon for box office receipts and critical buzz to be reiterated week after week for many different kinds of films.
Mr. Swope, I'm not a happy chappy. The agency that's currently handling my merchandise is the biggest nosebleed in town.
Number 8, fight choreography.
People keep asking if I'm back, and I haven't really had an answer. But now, yeah, I'm thinking I'm back.
The nuts and bolts of movie making ebbs and flows, with certain creative methods regaining popularity after moments of popular downtime. Franchises such as John Wick have reignited the desire for quality fight choreography among many movie fans, and this is a very good thing. Because for a while there, at least, it felt as if shaky camera movements and gimmicks hid the real, visceral kind of joy we receive from watching action movies.
Ich muss schlafen. Los, hoch. Hey, aufstehen, hoch.
The kung fu boom of the 1970s, and especially the action-oriented VHS days of the 1980s, brought tons of talented performers into our living rooms. Names like Jackie Chan, Sammo Hung, and Cynthia Rothrock all gave their all to turn martial arts cinema into an art form.
You want to drive?
Number 7, hand-drawn animation.
Aha! It's off to the back door. My precious must make haste to the back door.
There's no denying that some truly vibrant and emotionally affecting animated imagery can be constructed by CGI. That said, there's just something special about the hand-drawn animated features from back in the day.
Say my name, then. If you know my name, tell it to me.
Your name is a golden bell hung in my heart. I would break my body to pieces to call you once by your name.
We understand that all movie fans watch in different ways, and that the physicality of hand-drawn animation may seem quaint or archaic, given all of the technological advances we enjoy today. That said, the artifice of these older movies allows for astonishing detail to be delivered, not only to characters and their emotions, but to backgrounds. In fact, it's often the sumptuous designs afforded to these landscapes that allow our imaginations to dive headlong into the story at play.
Where do you live?
By that big stone in the garden. Just stay out of trouble.
Not to worry, Mrs. Fizz. I love kids, and kids love me.
Number 6, suspense over scares. The aforementioned restraint afforded to many old-school horror trailers not only ties into the advertising, but also the films. Today, the term that's often brought up is slow burn, but we prefer to call it atmosphere.
Don't you feel happy?
Jump scares have their time and place. They're designed to scare us, and they do their job. However, we'd argue that instilling an audience with dread or unease is a much more challenging task. Oftentimes, the classic gothic horror films of the 1960s, Italy's giallo cycle of the 70s, or 1980s horror shockers could take their time in delivering the menace, and we appreciated them for it. Number 5. Practical effects.
We got to it before it had time to finish.
Finish what?
Finish imitating these dogs.
They used to call it movie magic, the how'd they do that wonder associated with practical effects maestros like Tom Savini, Rob Bottin, Rick Baker, and Dick Smith. This torch is carried today by people like Greg Nicotero and his K&B EFX group, but the industry's halcyon era was definitely the 1980s.
It's a full moon. Beware the moon and stick to the road.
There's often a sense of nostalgia when it comes to the creature features and slashers from this era, but we must also give credit where it's due. It took a lot of hard work and dedication to bring these movies to life. The modern CGI landscape can achieve some wonderful things, but many people also just want something they can feel.
Ladies and gentlemen, there is nothing whatever to fear. That is an escape-proof cage, certified by the New York City.
Number 4. Morally ambiguous protagonists.
But Ian, this is a 44 Magnum, the most powerful handgun in the world, and would blow your head clean off. You've got to ask yourself one question. Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
Has the massive influx of superhero movies skewed our perceptions of movie protagonists? Does the person whose story we're following need to be a good person, or simply an interesting person? The new Hollywood era that peaked during the 1970s featured a wealth of morally ambiguous protagonists, leads that felt more human. This meant that often our narrative point of view was corrupted, troubled, or downright unreliable.
I see the money, man.
You'll have to take it.
This made for more interesting choices, since our protagonists weren't hamstrung by acts of necessary heroism. This, of course, doesn't mean that old movies were bereft of heroic people. It's more that this bygone era better reflects how we must go through our lives on a daily basis.
Shut up! Anybody want a milkshake?
Number 3. Steadier pacing.
You want to go to lunch with me?
It's okay with me.
They had really good tamales yesterday. They were canned, but they tasted just like Texas to me.
Today's streaming services seem to be getting the hint, since many ad-supported options like Tubi or Pluto TV contain categories that cater specifically to movies under 90 minutes. This speaks to the growing clamor by audiences against the bloat of the multiplex. In other words, don't take 3 hours to tell what you could easily do in 2.
It's really not a book, but a kind of file with times marked on it.
Or utilize more economical filmmaking by visually showing information as opposed to an exposition dump of dialogue. Speaking of dialogue, the attention paid to character conversations used to feel much more focused, with fewer cuts and editing. This lack of excessive framing allowed each conversation to breathe, thus transferring its information to the audience in a steadier fashion.
I realize that you and I have gotten off to a rather shaky start, but things don't have to stay that way. What do you say? Let's keep it shaky.
Number 2. Directorial autonomy.
Oh, see, no, we have to hold out on the Lyle.
You're holding out on him now? You didn't tell him you were coming to this meeting. Told him you're going for a drive.
Are we living in a Neo studio system? Some think so, since the era of directorial autonomy seems to be largely left by the wayside.
There's an armed mob of paid men about to invade your county.
Critics have pointed to the epic-sized financial blunders of efforts like 1980's Heaven's Gate or 1987's Ishtar as an example of why studios became more reticent to hand over blank checks to directors. If a filmmaker is only as good as their last hit, then it becomes difficult for modern directors to develop their style for fear of failing at the box office. For every big name like Martin Scorsese and Steven Spielberg that feels bulletproof, there's a Brian De Palma, Michael Cimino, or Elaine May that offer cautionary tales about the Hollywood system.
It's temporary anyway. I said it's temporary anyway. I do not intend to be stuck doing this for the rest of my life. Don't tell Mr. Dibman that I said that, please.
Okay. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Number 1. More originality, less remakes.
It makes me sleep good at night. That's what counts. Okay? You worry about it.
I am worried about it.
Let's face it, movies will always be remade, and this isn't necessarily a bad thing. Brian De Palma's Scarface was a fantastic example of a remake being properly updated for its audience. That said, original ideas seem to be lacking in many film options today, with studios instead seeking out intellectual properties and fandoms to exploit.
If we've got any surprises for each other, I don't think we're in much shape to do anything about it.
Again, this is nothing new, since many of the finest films ever made were adaptations of source novels. It's not that a movie is remade, but how it's remade is perhaps the question we should be asking. If there are no new original ideas under the sun, then maybe all we can ask for is for directors and screenwriters to speak from experience, from the gut, and from the heart.
You know why? You don't have the guts to be what you want to be. You need people like me.
What's your favorite go-to classic movie? Let us know in the comments.
You don't understand. I could have had class. I could have been a contender. I could have been somebody instead of a bum.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.